culture is really just how you act, how your individuals act. And I think the way culture drives, success is that it's a shared goal, shared purpose. We always try to play to a standard higher than winning, and that's when it becomes more about basketball.
Welcome to the Jamodi Podcast. We are all surrounded by amazing coaches and leaders. So let's get an inside look at not just what they do, but how they do what they do. After all, becoming the best versions of ourselves is Jamodi, just a matter of doing it. Today we are joined by the women's assistant coach at Appalachian State University, Mark Cascio. In 18 years of coaching, Coach Cascio has an overall record of 334 wins and 164 losses. As a high school boys coach in Louisiana, he was an 8-time Coach of the Year and won 8 district titles. In 2019, he founded Courtside Consulting, where he helps coaches implement innovative systems on both ends of the floor by using advanced knowledge and practices to build winning teams. To learn more about Courtside Consulting, check out courtsideconsulting.com. Before we hear from Coach, take a moment to subscribe to our podcast and follow us on social media at Jamodi Podcast.
All right.
Coach, first of all, thank you so much for giving up your time. Like, I can't imagine how busy you are with all the things you have going. And this is an honor for me, man.
Oh, come on. This is great. I apologize it took this long. I can always make time. It's so hard for me to commit to something because our schedule just is just changes on a whim so much. So I hate to just today, I didn't know if I was going to be on the road today or leaving tomorrow. So it's just hard to commit.
Little different than the head coaching boys high school job that you had. What's the big difference between those time commitments that you feel like?
It's as a head coach, you kind of set your own schedule. That, if you don't want to practice on a Saturday or Sunday, or if you have a family event, not to schedule a practice. So being an assistant, being at this level, it's just,
here's the schedule.
Yeah. And then here's the schedule, and it's probably going to change especially with the portal, all of a sudden, if there's a kid that's in the portal and it's okay, well, they're coming on campus Saturday. So whatever you were doing Saturday, cancel it. So that's the big thing. And then the travel, you lived it as a player. So we're on the road a lot of times Wednesday through Sunday. So
how's the adjustment been for everybody with the family and everything? Are they enjoying the college life?
Yeah, I mean, my wife is she was teaching when I was in high school. So she was teaching pre-K 3. She's now working from home. She started a business, so
Very
she
cool.
loves that. Yeah. And she's kind of made that. It's something she did on the side, and then it was if I'm going to transition, she kind of was going to do the same. So she loves that. And then a lot of times, honestly, I'm home more during the week, just because we'll practice sometimes from 11 to 1, where I can sneak out and pick them up from school, which
that's
I
a
never
benefit. That's a benefit for sure.
Yeah.
You don't have to have your butt in a seat somewhere watching all other students all day. Yeah,
exactly. That honestly, the level doesn't matter to me. Coaching college was not a huge deal to me. I had passed on some opportunities. I was just burned out at a high school bell schedule, the day to day. It got to me, man. It's just not how I'm wired.
Yep. I just finished what I call AP Silent Study Hall. In a joke, it's become where kids ask me, "Do we actually get AP credit for this?" No, it's study hall. But I just
extra quiet.
Yeah, if you're really silent. But I just hustled from that last class of the day down here, so I get that. But I'll tell you, I've had the opportunity, in the last year of doing this, to get to talk to so many coaches, and it's been really fun. But when I said before, this is an honor for me. You and I have had some discussions in the past. I mean, I really enjoyed, that kind of mentorship program that you have. And I want to talk a little bit more about that near the end. But our offense at Grapevine Faith was dramatically, it shifted, it changed. And it all started with me randomly on YouTube looking for some 5-out dribble drive stuff because I was just a little bit tired of having the dunker spot and having that defender sitting in there. And I saw this video of your teams and I thought, I love the spacing. What are they doing? What are the rules? And so without knowing it, man, you single-handedly affected the program of a small private school in Dallas, Texas. So there you go.
Well, awesome. That's cool, man. I keep up with y'all on Twitter, so
Oh,
seems like y'all have a really great program.
it's been fun. 9 years here, and we do value shooting the three and kind of hang our hat on that. But then your idea of we were already playing fast and running dribble drive, but then your idea of moving that dunker spot. I'm not saying it's yours, but watching your team and the way that you've taught it and moving it out to the stretch, it's been a game changer for us and the ability for us to truly play, 5 guards at times rather than or if we do have a big, teaching him how to still pass and move it, cut with a purpose, but then hopefully he can knock down threes too. But are you running that? Because I noticed that at your college now, that's what your role, player development, but then it also said offensive, style and philosophy. Is that what you brought?
Yeah. So the head coach was in Courtside the year before, so they started doing some things. So we run really exactly what you're describing. We were more 4-out though, so we set more ball screens in it.
Okay.
But next year, and this is kind of, I was going to tell you, so like this is kind of the latest iteration, is open post, meaning just the dunker becomes kind of like the stretch. So like anybody fills it or can fill it. So we're like 4-out, 5-out can flow in between. So if the stretch is filled, we're probably 5-out. If you remove that stretch player, just we're going to be 4-out, but it's going to morph within a possession. So I love that because then if you have like let's just say you have like a 3-ish type player that's like at your level, maybe like 6'3" wiry kid that can shoot it, but also could like do some damage down there. He just has the freedom to go in there, sneak behind the defense, and it gives you some twos. Maybe when a night like team like yours shoots a lot of threes, night where you're just cold, it might be, hey, let's fill the dunker, see if we can get some twos and take the lid off.
You made a comment years ago when we did have our first talk about there's a lot of times where you like the space and not having a dunker spot, but then there's times where you wish that you could have the dunker spot because you love that ability to dump it, when you pull that guy in. So this seems to be a little bit of like the best of both worlds right there.
It is, man. I like all the coaches in Courtside that I'm like, you would have to like tie me down for me not to run this at the high school level. I think it's just it's the great compromise, because the biggest question I get is, this is my personnel, would you be 4-out or 5-out? And you no longer really have to answer that question. Is like, we're going to teach all the same stuff, and you can be 4-out or 5-out. Guys can gravitate there that are comfortable. Like I know when I play pickup, like I love filling the dunker spot, and I'm not a big dude, I just love being like sneaky back there,
Yeah. That's interesting. And it may end up, because I thought in going to 5-out, it allowed me to play more players, but then you could go the extreme with that to where you really eliminate, like you kind of mentioned, that at our level, really 6'3", 6'4", 6'5", that's a decent sized kid. Yeah. And let's just say, even within our individual development and skill work, that I feel like really trains them all to be playmakers, not just run a play or be in a certain position. Maybe it allows them to have a bigger offensive role, because I'm just thinking of a few guys that they were truly just spacers. They didn't necessarily shoot for us, but they had to make sure they were in the right space and not turn the ball over. I don't know. I can see something there.
Yeah. I think that's what we're going to do next year. We lost our we had some like 5s on the roster. That's what we recruited to, and we lost our best one to the portal. So she had a great year. She's going to the Big East. So like, it's one of those things, like good for her, bad for us,
Like it's a testament to your program that you catapulted her there, and through her hard work too. But you'd rather have her.
And exactly. And we didn't really fill. We just kind of took 2 kids out of the portal that were best available. So now it's like, if with the roster we have, we'll probably be open post. So exclusively. So I'm excited about it. I think it's going to be good.
Yeah, so much about that, the portal. I mean, golly, I feel like every other tweet right now from people is about that. And from your perspective, do you look at a high school player or do you look at a portal player? What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, we're at the mid-major level, man. It's so hard because like some variables that people don't understand is like you get checks for they call them cost of attendance. I don't know if you got them at Baylor, but it's just like money every semester. No, you're
Oh,
laughing
you're
like
talking about for things in your scholarship that you didn't use. Like if I didn't stay on in the dorms, I get that money in a check.
you would get more. Yes,
Oh, I
like
got that. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
okay. Now, and there's other now. I think just a few years ago, it's just money, just a check. Like so, our kids get $1,700 a semester of just whatever, food, whatever. Um, at the Power Five level, some of those checks are like $10,000 a semester.
See, that's
So
not something that I feel like everybody knows about.
exactly.
Not that there's
So
anything wrong with it, but like
right,
a lot of
and
money.
it's just what your athletic department is willing to pay. But then, so we'll talk to a Power Five kid, and they're like, "Well, what's the cost of attendance?" And we're like 1,700, and they're like, "Well, I could just ride this thing out and make 10,000 a semester." So it's really hard to get a drop down from a
Wow.
Power Five, and then it's really a lot of the kids that you're signing out of the portal kids you recruited out of high school. So you continue to recruit high school, obviously, but it's sometimes you recruit a little bit over. Like we probably are not going to sign this kid out of high school, but maybe if they go to Charlotte or wherever and they're unhappy, then you get them like on the back end. So
That makes sense.
yeah, it's completely changed it, and it's good and bad. I mean, life would be much simpler without it, but for every pro there's a con, for every blessing there's a curse.
Yeah.
Just we signed a couple kids that we like, but then our starting post player leaves and goes to the Big East. So
Yeah.
it is what it is.
How does culture drive performance? It's a buzzword,
Yeah.
but it's there.
Yeah. It's like I feel so like kind of like cheesy talking about culture, but you're right. Like and I think you can talk about culture without even saying the word culture sometimes,
Standards,
because
the way you show up. Yeah.
exactly, standards and behaviors.
Yep.
It's like culture is really just how you act, how your individuals act. And I think the way culture drives success is that it's a shared goal, shared purpose. um, we always try to play to a standard higher than winning, and that's when it becomes more about basketball. So it's just we're pursuing excellence. That's what my high school coach used to always say is we're pursuing excellence, we're pursuing perfection, even though we know we can't be perfect, but there's always something more to accomplish. So if we win, it's like we're going to celebrate it, but we know that there's more out there because we have this shared purpose. So it's all individuals working towards that shared purpose, where we've all heard the sum is greater than its parts. In the culture code, Daniel Coyle, the author, just said 2 + 2 = 10. When you're in a good culture, and you can get a lot of things wrong, but when you have a great culture, you can get a lot of things right. So it's just, I think the sum are greater than its parts. I think what you have when you have a great culture is you have weaker individuals that can succeed in a stronger group, rather than
Mm.
a strong individual might not be able to succeed around a weaker group. So um, I just think that's what makes what makes it more about basketball. So it's easy to keep the main thing the main thing. But then there's just like you just feel like I think when you're in special cultures, you just feel that it's special and you feel that it's different. Um, so that's kind of what we tried to create at Catholic, and what Coach Angel, our head coach at App State, does a phenomenal job of. Super passionate about building culture. A lot of what we do is player led, so we want it to be kind of the coach's vision or concept, but the players define that. It's their
Nice.
definition, and they bring it to life. So definitely a shared culture is one that I think is successful.
Do you feel like the culture of a program needs to fit with the style of play. And the reason I ask this, like the way that what I've learned from you and kind of what I believe is more of a free flowing style where players are making plays, making reads off of each other, which that takes a lot of trust from us to players, but from player to player. I take just a random offense, one that I ran in college, unfortunately, like flex, very
Yeah.
structured. Like with that in mind, how important is culture to the way that you play?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it's really important because what I've learned as a coach going through my career is that these things don't exist independently. It's like culture is not how we behave off the floor, and then this style of play is what's on the court. Um, it really is. I mean, the culture is the huge umbrella, and everything falls under that. So I think it goes more into the style rather than like the exact offense that you run. So um, for us, like we like to get up and down. We like to play fast and free, like you said. So I think it goes to like, what are your core values? For us, like at Catholic, when I was a head coach, our core values were together and attack. So because together could be unity or teamwork or brotherhood, just fun ways to define it, right? And then attack is just we're going to get after it no matter what we do. If we're playing basketball, if we're in the weight room, if we're in the classroom, we are going to have a sole purpose of just attacking the day. And I think that's where we really turned the corner as a program because it wasn't you see all the time like I have to or I get to
Yeah.
mentality, but also like in the weight room. One thing I really wanted to change is I noticed our guys would like finish a set and be like, hunched over or like about to get under the bar and they're like kind of intimidated by it. I'm like, hey, like we're going to attack that thing, like go kick its butt. And then when we're done, let's jog to our superset because we're playing fast. And we got to be able to transition everywhere. From class to the court, from film to practice, from the locker room to the game. So just building those things in, and it's more of a mindset. It's more of not what we do. It becomes more ingrained in you and just who we are.
Nice. I think that that's a huge shift right there to culture, standards, how we show up, whatever, however you want to say it. How many coaches out there, and my takeaway, how many coaches out there have pillars that are good? Like there's nothing wrong with those signs on a wall in your locker room, but the way that you go about things in practice, the way that you go about things with your play, they there's a struggle, there's friction between them. So I think that big shift there is your the way that you want everything to flow within your program. Make sure your culture or your identity is actually lining up with that instead of just something your high school coach or something that you read in a book that sounds really good, an acronym that sounds really good, but there's no type of buy-in at all or flow.
Yeah, and I think a lot of times those core values or those pillars you talk, they're all great stuff, but if you're not living them, they're just signs on a wall. And I think as coaches, we've got to remember your culture is really built a lot of times, not in meetings, not on the court. It's in all the little random moments.
Yeah.
How we behave in the locker room. Uh, how do we interact? I was talking to a coach that's in the Courtside program, and we were talking about pro hops. He just wanted his team to be better at pro hops. So we went a long kind of discussion of just like how we teach it, how we rep it, and then he said, so live play, how do you get them to pro hop after all that? And I said, well, make any pro hop. If we pro hop, shoot a layup, pro hop, kick out for a three, just make that 4 points, or 5 points or whatever. Add more value to it. And the reason why I say that is I told him, but look, like if you have guys stretching themselves and trying something new and they fail, quote unquote, fail, like celebrate it, man.
Yeah.
Like that's your culture,
Yeah.
like if you want your team to pro hop and a kid pro hops and turns it over and he gets an earful, like well, that's your culture. But if you're celebrating the fact that he tried to do something new, that's also your culture too. So
Yeah.
it's just in all those little moments, man. Like A lot of the ideas that I'm sharing on cultures, like I got from Doug Lamov's book, who a lot of people have read. If you haven't, you need to. But he mentioned a soccer coach. Somebody blew a wide open breakaway shot, and like the coach didn't even respond. It's just like, what's the point? Like he wanted to make the shot, he just didn't. Like,
Yeah.
does he need to be yelled at because of it? Like
Let's make
he
him
went
feel
for it.
worse about screwing up.
Right?
That's,
Yeah. Maybe he'll make the next one if we make him feel bad about himself.
but that's tough because I mean, now you and I don't know how I'm 40, so I probably got 10 years on you. You look young.
I'm 37, man.
Okay, only
not
3.
that many years.
Okay, so but you and I we're very similar in age, and I'm not. I mean, there's definitely older coaches that do think this way and believe in that not perfection but excellence idea. Like that is big because the movies and the coaches that we probably idolize. I mean, I just always go back to remember the Titans when he's standing there, perfection, gentlemen, is the goal. And like it sounds so good. It's Denzel Washington or Hoosiers. There's so much in Hoosiers. I love the movie, but in my heart, I'm like, no, that's not it. So I think that's hard for some coaches to, in the moment, let go of resulting
Yep.
and celebrate the process.
Yeah. Quick follow up on that. So like I love you saying resulting. I love you using that language because this is good from James Clear. Like if the result is not where you want it, but you're on the right path, the direction of where you're heading is more important than the actual result in the moment. So if you're on the right direction, just celebrate it or ignore it, whatever. But to your other point of kind of older coaches, and we all have our strengths, weaknesses, but I just feel like a lot of where we get our strengths is because the way we were coached.
Yeah.
But we also get a lot of weaknesses that way too. And I feel like that's what can stunt growth. Is this is the way I was brought up and I turned out okay, so this is the way the next generation is going to get it. Doesn't have to be that way. I think a lot of the things that I've stumbled upon and stolen from people and borrowed and tweaked was because I was always looking for a better way to do things.
I think that, did you come up, like, have you always been that way? Because I don't think a lot of coaches, like we enjoy doing the things that we know and that we're comfortable in and we've done for a long time.
Yeah, I think that shift happened for me overnight. Well, I wouldn't say that. So I was an assistant at 19 while I was going to college. I went back to alma mater and was an assistant for 2 years, and I learned a ton just because you're looking at it from a completely different lens. And it was actually a different coach that I worked for, and didn't really have a prior relationship with him, so learned a ton from him. But then I got a head job just offered to me like on a whim, didn't apply, didn't want it, wasn't even looking. I was
nice.
focused on finishing school, and then I think as a 21-year-old head coach, I realized like I don't really know what I'm doing, so I better start looking for better ways to do things, or looking for ways to organize. So I just became obsessed with like gathering clinic notes and listening to clinics, listening to coaches. Podcasts weren't really a thing back then, but I probably would have been obsessed with podcasts. And I think that just like desire for like, for me, what fuels me is when I figure out that I don't know what I don't know. So just connecting with people and realizing that there's just like these ways out there to coach and teach that I didn't even know existed. Like that's extremely motivating for me.
I love that. There's a guy that I've enjoyed following on Twitter, and I read his book, Fake Fundamentals. Brian McCormick, and on Twitter, he'll it's almost as if whatever Coach A says, he's got another idea. He's going to go the opposite way, and then Coach B says something almost the same as him, but he's got another opposite. He's got another way, but his mind is similar, and he challenged me on so many things that we do just because we've always done them. But is that the best way for players, for coaching? Any other resources or things that you found that kind of opened your mind up to, man, there might be more efficient ways to do this.
Yeah, Brian is definitely one. I read 21st Century Basketball
Nice.
and follow him on Twitter. Actually, I had a chance to meet him around a year ago, and he's one in the same way, just not afraid to challenge beliefs, which I think that just leads to innovation, and just always finding a better way. One thing I do not like is like limiting beliefs or that's too hard or that won't work here or we can't do that at this level or we've always done it this way. And he's definitely one that kind of stretches you there. One of my good, somebody that I hired as a mentor that's become a good friend of mine is JP Nurbin. He was kind of the guy that he's a phenomenal basketball coach, but has stopped coaching just kind of he helps coaches with their culture, and that's what he really opened my eyes to. So a lot of coaches have opened my eyes to new things, X's and O's wise. He's opened my eyes to just running a program and being transformational. How to do that? I think all coaches want to be transformational. He really showed me how to do that. Still a work in progress, as we all are, but he's been one that's just been a good follow for me.
Coaches, the Jamodi podcast is sponsored by 3on3 Hoops Hub. 3on3 Hoops Hub has run over 350 3on3 basketball leagues for kids since 1997. 3on3 is the ideal format for players to get a lot of opportunities, work on all skills and positions, and have fun with their friends. Whether you want to build your program, raise some funds, or start your own business, you can bring 3on3 to your community and do it like an expert by learning from the best with 3on3 Hoops Hub's free 90-minute training. You can register at the link in the show notes. One of the motivations behind doing this, besides sitting around the pandemic a few years ago with nothing to do, and I was able to direct for PGC for 5 years and their summer camps and learn their culture. But at the end of all of our days, at the end of the night session, we would have coaches roundtables where we just get to sit and talk and share ideas. And man, that was like my favorite part of every day. So I was talking with a lady in North Dallas about shooting. And then the conversation veered off to something that she does with her program, a high school girls program in a way of culture building. She takes them out to a lake house. And that's cool. It's not like I've heard of stuff like that before. But then she went through this talk that she has with them and the place that like it kind of takes them and as a team and opens up dialogue. And I just sat there thinking, like, this is brilliant. And we would have never had this talk if not for, wanting to talk about shooting. So for you, with the culture that you have, and you mentioned it's every day what you do, and I love that. But what are a few things, activities that you could point to, like this is something that we never miss it?
Yeah. So, I think it's more of how we do rather than like certain events. There's definitely things that are just like present every year. But one thing when you talking about like how I think you said something like safety or just something, the activities they do to get them talking. We always broke our team into smaller groups. So I never found a great way to kind of elect captains or get captains to lead effectively. And I think it was because one, I wasn't doing a good job of like preparing the soil for them. It was just more of like, hey, you've been voted captain. Do a great job, man.
Here's your C.
Right. Yeah, there you go. So this is a way where you can kind of like build leaders before they might be ready to be a quote unquote captain. But and I think also the captains were trying to lead too many people. We would always practice JV varsity together. So really, I treated my high school program as a team of 24. And then we'd have two captains, and it's like, hey, lead these guys. But that's just too many. Can't form super strong relationships with 22 other people. So we broke them down into 4 or 5 smaller units where they were just in charge of leading 2 to 3 people. And those relationships got really strong. They were able to cultivate stronger relationships where they had more psychological safety. They were vulnerable within their group and they loved getting into their group. So like every team meeting, would probably start big group, break up small group, and then come back big group. Same thing with practices. Before practices, we would always talk as a group. I would break them into their smaller groups. We would come back as a big group. And what that does is it builds some camaraderie, but also if you ask your team of 12, 15, 24 a question, you're going to get the same 3 to 4 guys that are just comfortable speaking to always share their opinion. In the smaller groups, they would all share. And then sometimes the leader would say, well, Matt had a really good idea, but Matt's never going to talk if in the whole group, right? But he's kind of getting his voice, and then he gets used to talking in front of 3 or 4. And then the next year he's comfortable talking in front of more guys. So that was always really good. And kind of mentioning the shared culture, I think an activity, a must would be for any program, if you utilize, whether you utilize the small groups or not, is your culture is going to be what you do daily in the most mundane tasks. So like, how do we ride the bus? What does a championship team look like when they're on the bus? Whatever it is. Or at meetings, what does a championship team look like in meetings? And that's going to be sitting up straight. Our phones are off or away. We're making eye contact. We're engaged. We're participating. So once you ask them, they define all those things. And then as a coach, you just support and enforce those. But it's their idea of what a championship team looks like. So before a meeting, I would just say, hey, name one thing that we do in a championship team does in a meeting. Oh, we all sit up straight. And now player XYZ in the back is like, oh crap, I got to sit up straight. And you don't have to say, hey, Matt, sit up. It's just they're self-regulating. And I would do that in all aspects of your program. And then as the coach, you don't have to be the bad guy. You're just the reminder guy.
Yeah, I like that. You're the reminder guy. And that gives them ownership. I've been guilty over the years of setting the culture, setting the standards, and you better live by these and like them. But that's just not. I mean, maybe you and I were wired that way back in the day. Like, coach, whatever you want, tell me it. I'll run through a brick wall for you. But one, because of phones, their ability to find out any information about anything, so fast. They definitely want to know the why, but if you can help them get there themselves, not just tell them the why, but help them get there. I love that ownership. Let me ask you, how do you set up those groups?
Great question. So the leader of the group will be your kind of captain. So we would just give them a questionnaire of what makes a great leader. And you could just give them that question at a meeting, write a whole bunch of things down on the whiteboard. And a lot of them are going to overlap. So, trustworthy, somebody else might say dependable. It's like, okay, well, can we just agree that trustworthy, So you kind of come up with maybe 3, 4, 5 qualities of a leader. And then you can just ask the question, well, who in this program is currently doing these things? That's how we're going to vote. First, I think you need to ask who's willing to be a leader, because not everybody wants to be in the leadership role.
Man, can I tell a quick story about that? Because that's such a great point. I was a varsity assistant at McKinney High School, and it was our spring, and we were actually transitioning to dribble drive, shooting a lot of threes. And I got a packet from Calipari at Memphis. That was the packet that I just went off of, or Vance Wahlberg or one of those dudes. But and we're really thinking of revamping our culture and the way that we talk and stuff. Well, it's our first huddle, and all right, somebody break us out. And I was probably 26 or 7 at the time, but I really thought that this one kid had all of what it takes, to be the leader of the program, a good player, smart, articulate, everybody respects him. But he didn't take that moment, to break. And it was somebody that I just didn't even expect. And not a big deal. It's just breaking out. I was just so immature. I went and found him during the school day. I maybe even took him out of the class in the hallway and just, hey, listen, I really thought that this was a moment for you. I see you as a great leader. And which is a nice thing to tell somebody if it's true and you see it. But, and I really think that you could step into this role. and he just started tearing up, and almost like to the point, and I'm looking around the hallway, like I don't want somebody to think I'm, yelling at this kid. And I said, "What's going on?" And he said, I don't want that. Like, I don't want to be that at all. And
Yeah.
then the player in me is like, what? So like, you're so right on the money, but I don't think we talk about that a lot. Like, we want all of these kids to be leaders like us or like anybody. Some don't want that. Anyway, great point.
Yeah. And it is a great point because I usually do all this through Google Form because it collects it for you, but also it gives them a chance to kind of reflect a little bit away from the gym. But every year there was always somebody that wasn't comfortable where you're like, really?
Yeah.
And then there's always someone that you don't think can be a leader, and they they think they are. So, but we all see ourselves different, internally, and but yeah, so those really how we get those groups is we would assign the leader first, and then a couple ways you could do it is a draft. That way people are kind of picking who they are comfortable with, or you can do it to kind of foster relationships where maybe it's a senior and then there's a stud sophomore that's going to be a starter and you really want him to be in this particular seniors group. So you can kind of have them draft, and if you got to make a couple trades or override some things, but almost what you want to avoid is maybe like really good friends being in the same group, unless depending on their relationship. Because I always say, like, all right, look, like player A, player B, y'all are boys. Are you comfortable confronting him if you need to, though? Or is that going to hurt your friendship? Sometimes it's like, oh yeah, coach, like, got it. And then other times it's like, it's a good point. Like I probably wouldn't be comfortable doing that. So sometimes it's personalities. I think you want to have a nice blend of personalities within a group. Like if you got a big talker, then you might want to have a silent guy in there, maybe somebody that kind of gets along with everybody, but it typically kind of works itself out.
Yeah, I love that idea. Do you do that at your school now? Because it's the second time I've heard something similar. Coach Butterfield at University of Texas at Dallas, UTD, he has his leadership, and I can't. He has a kind of a cool term for it. I'm blanking on it, but basically his leadership captains that have groups, and they have weekly meetings together, and it's almost him telling other players what they need to do through those those leaders. Now that's at the college level, but do you do that at your school?
We do. So we do have the smaller units, the groups, and our head coach meets with them every week with just the leadership council. So they're kind of give us the pulse of the team. They make decisions for us, and you can I think you can throw them a bone sometimes too, like, what team shoes do y'all want to wear, or do you want to wear team shoes, or are we just going to commit to all having white Nike or Under Armour or whatever, or black, whatever. Let them make those decisions that don't really matter at the end of the day. Give them some power. But we actually broke our team up. We took a personality test, and that way we had a good blend.
Where'd you get the test from, if you don't mind sharing?
There are a few. We did it's called PDI. Couldn't tell you what it stands for. If you Google PDI personality test, what it does, it kind of groups people by color. So like I'm a high red, which means I'm just like a doer. Like I'm just like, hey, let's get this thing done. Our head coach is more blue. She's more emotional, very relationship driven. And then like another assistant of ours was yellow, which means like very outgoing, kind of extroverted. So we kind of mix them up that way.
So you want one of each. You're not putting personality types together for the most part.
100%.
You'd have one super silent group, one group that's weeping, and then one group that's about to fight each other. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. The yellow, the extroverted group wouldn't get much done. They would have a lot of fun, but not get them. I
like that though. To me, that's that might be the purest way of setting your groups, because you could do the picking in gym class basically, which there could be issues there. I could take control and place players where like I think it'll really benefit them, and probably that's the second best way. But then I would think that's the first is a test like that that really shows how they can complement and build each other up.
For sure.
What's your favorite style of basketball to teach and play?
Man, I love up tempo. You know that we love to get up and down, love to shoot the three offensively, and just give our players a lot of freedom, space to make plays for themselves or their teammates. Really love more positionless basketball. Just doesn't mean that you don't have any positions, especially at the college level. I think um, positions just tend to blend a little bit. So maybe you only recruit three positions rather than your more traditional five positions. But I like if you're looking at overarching style, just both sides of the ball. I just like to lean on people and just constant attack mode, and just kind of not let you take a break. And just it's like water getting through the dam. It's like at some point we're gonna break you, and I want you to feel us every night.
I love that
Um,
right there. I'm stealing that next year when we're talking about how we play. What have been some of the good things that you've seen from taking your style of play to the college level, and then what have been some challenging things?
you know, the good thing is you can kind of recruit to it.
Yeah,
You can and you can't, because although you can pick your players at college, they don't always pick you. Um, so you can recruit to it. I think you have more time for skill development, just like one-on-ones with players. I think we've gotten very specific, with what our players need. I think at high school sometimes it can be kind of more general.
yeah.
Um, and then some of the challenges is defenders are longer, more athletic, more experienced. The coaching, I was going to say the coaching's better. It is and it isn't. I think the preparation is better. I think there's great coaches at every level. The biggest difference I can see is just the level of preparations that teams can prepare for you. Just because there's more staff, there's more time, there's more film out there, and then probably players at that level are more used to kind of taking a scout report to the floor. But at the end of the day, a lot of the basketball has been really pure. Like the things that really were good for us at the high school level has been good for us at this level too.
You mentioned something about defenders are longer. I was talking with a coach about, it's kind of fun. I was talking to coach about the way we play, which is the way you play. And so they ask a question, what do we do if, because we don't utilize ball screens very much. I mean, it really is more of a creating double gaps and triple gaps and exploiting those, and then finding the best shot as fast as possible. And then when we talk about shooting, we define what the best shot is, but sometimes it's different than what some other people might think is the best shot. And we're comfortable with taking that really early on. But I get the question of if they're bigger, faster, stronger, uh, what do you do? Do you change? Do you adjust anything? And I haven't really had good answers to them because my gut instinct, like the water in the dam, is no, just keep going, keep pressing, keep pushing. But what is your advice to playing the way we like to play, but against bigger, faster, stronger? What do you do?
Yeah, that's a good question. I was actually talking to a coach in the Atlanta area not long ago. He just got his first head coaching job, and he's like, "Look, man, I'm really talented for the next couple of years. I might not be after that. Am I setting myself up for failure in a few years by committing to this style?" And I thought it was a great question and good insight on him because he's looking more, program wide rather than, "Hey, I'm coaching a team this year." But I told him like, "Look, if you're going to tell me that we're going to play against a better team, whether they're bigger, faster, stronger, if we walk it up, like we've got a whole lot of work to do,
Yeah.
especially with the shot clock. It's like we're going to walk it up. So now we have 20 seconds to find a great shot against people that are superior. Um, I would say let's get that thing out of the net. Let's run. Maybe we get a 5-on-4 and we get a shot before we turn that thing over. In your shot clock, the last 10 seconds, and especially the last like 4 to 5 seconds, your points per possession or points per shot are just abysmal, So Honestly, I think the lesser talented teams I've coached, I've been of the mindset, let's shoot it before we turn that thing over, because the longer we have it, the less likely we're going to be successful. And the other coach, the other side, could easily say, let's limit possessions. Let's give that bigger, faster, stronger team less possessions to score on us. He's right too, or she's right too. It's just what fits your style. Like what are you going to wake up and be super enthused to coach and be fired up every day at practice? Because I'm not going to be fired up to say, hey, let's walk it up, let's get 8 reversals, and then maybe we'll find a good shot. Um, and I don't want to recruit to that either. You watch all these press conferences with coaches. No one says like, "Hey, I can tell you right now, we're going to play really slow.
Yeah, it's going to be the most boring basketball you've ever seen."
Right. Although it sometimes it ends up being that way. Like our pace was 13th in the nation this year.
Nice.
Pretty good, for better or for worse. And so we say we play fast. We do play fast, and I just think it's one of those things where philosophically we could both be right. It's just what are you going to commit to? What do you enjoy?
I think you're right on the money with that statement. Like, it's not a matter of just because I believe a certain way. Like, there's times where those coaches that we don't have a shot clock in Texas. Those coaches that do have the ability to up 21-20 in the second quarter with 6 minutes left, hold that thing at half court. I always think, what's the other team doing? Like, why are you allowing them to do that? But it's what they believe is right. I am 100% opposed to doing that myself. And our teams of faith will not play that way. But my answer to a question to that sometimes is, you'll lose. If you telling me you're playing a bigger, faster, stronger team, that's it's more skilled, there's a chance that you could play your style to the best of your ability and lose. But that's it. You got to accept that, or else you're looking for a style of play that doesn't exist, one that will never help you or allow you to lose a game.
Yeah, and I'll two things that resonated with me with what you just said is, when I played slower as a coach earlier in my career and we were down by like 10 in the fourth quarter, it was abandon everything we practiced. Now we got to score. Like we've got to attack now. We can't run our offense.
And if they're not used to that, what do?
You're not very good at it, right? And then also, if you're in a, high school, even colleges, we all kind of, it's ebbs and flows. We fluctuate. We have years where we're more talented, years where we're less talented. With your less talented teams, it goes back to where we started the conversation with culture, is like, what is your culture? Like, what is your style? What is the feel of your program? Because I think if you're always changing, we're talented, so we're going to play this way. We're not talented, so we're going to play this way. But now we're talented again. But so these kids were freshmen, sophomore in our program, and now we're pivoting and playing a different way.
Yeah.
I think the more consistent you are, that's where you get 2 + 2 = 10.
Identity. Like, do you really want, if you have great players, it doesn't matter what style you choose. You're probably going to have an opportunity to win most games.
Yep.
But those years where you don't have the best players, which is most of us, I would say the average coach out there, the majority, don't have the highest ranked players on their team, right? There's not that many of them. So you better have an identity that your players can grab onto, something to hang your hat on. Listen, fellas, I know we're down 8 right now with 3 minutes left, but just keep firing away. This is what we do. Like, there's power and there's confidence that comes from that. And I'm sorry, I didn't mean to get up on that.
No, you're right. I mean, identity is super important, and I don't think it's an identity if you don't stay with it through the bad too. That is not your identity if you're always resulting, like you said, and just changing. So pick a style, put some blinders on, and do the best you can. It's kind of like the plays versus players. we want better players probably making plays rather than teaching them how to run plays. Um, that's just kind of what I've always enjoyed about the game,
But there
especially like
are great plays out there that and great coaches that can dissect and articulate. I guess at the end of the day, you realize you can't be everybody. You can't be I can't be Coach K and Paul Westhead at like there's parts of them that we can take and choose, but then you do kind of, and I don't know how long it takes. It's like anything else. It takes what it takes for you to become comfortable. This is what style just gets me excited every day to come to the gym.
so my journey there was like when I made this commitment to play like this because I wanted to before I actually did. And before our first game that season, I was like, "Oh man!" Like it's like pregame warmups, and I'm like,
Oh,
are we about to do this? You know, because speaking of like the more talented team, I wasn't sure we were the more talented team, and I'm like, how is this going to go? And uh, we played lights out. I mean, we scored, I
oh,
think,
nice.
like 87, 88 points, and like it came to that point in the fourth quarter. I was like, are we going to score 100? And thank goodness it worked like that first game of the year because we never looked back.
Our journeys are so similar in kind of finding our way in this. Is when we had started to run a gun at McKinney, and really, I mean, me and the head coach there, he allowed me to trusted me to do a lot with the offense. And then when I came to Faith, first meeting with the guys, they had averaged 50 points the year before, and walking it up and throwing it into with double post sets. And I said, guys, listen, we're gonna shoot 70 or more shots a game, and we're going to shoot 30 to 43s at least every game. And then I had one other goal. We're going to press the whole time because I was pressing at that point. And so we started a whole fall doing that. Before our very first game, I felt so sick. And because it's way different from being an assistant coach. If this thing fails, it's all on that guy. And then you move over, we're down 13-8. And we can't buy a bucket the first quarter. We end up scoring 87 and winning by 30. But it was just, and dad came up to me after, was like, is every game going to look like this? Is this what it's supposed to look like? And I was like, heck yeah, it is. but yeah, that moment of this is going to fail.
That identical. And the dam broke on them, right? So you were down by 5 and then win by 30. It just constant attack mode.
I wish I could say that always happens, but we'll always have the chance. Spurtability, man. We always have a chance.
That's right.
The Jamodi podcast is powered by Sideline Interactive. Sideline Interactive is the leading manufacturer for high-quality, innovative scoring tables and LED video display boards that help coaches and schools bring more excitement to fans, create huge fundraising opportunities, and make their jobs easier. Visit sidelineinteractive.com to check out their amazing products.
How do you teach shooting in your program with the style of play that you have?
Yeah, I mean, shooting is it's in our DNA. That's for sure. Like even early on at App, when we were doing summer workouts, like the girls were like, "All we're doing is shooting like threes," and I'm like, "Dang right, like we're gonna shoot a lot of them." We at one point we led the conference in attempts, and I'm like, we better lead the conference in attempts in practice too. So we just shoot a lot. Yeah, we shoot a lot. As far as like actual teaching shooting, now is a good time where we kind of like help players with their shot, but I'm very weary of that because everybody moves different, and something that works for me may not work for you. I really look at more of what's the end result. Are we missing left, right? Probably need to tweak something. But the biggest thing that resonated with me is I think it was 2007. There was a study on all NCAA shots, Division I men and women's shots, and 70% of missed shots were missed short. So the biggest thing I find myself teaching is we're not going to miss short. However, language wise, we don't say don't miss short. We just tell them what we want them to do. And that is to aim for the back half of the basket. Something I got from Don Meyer, who another innovator, just great mind of the game, was if you have a circle, you're not aiming for the back of the rim Some people aim for the front of the rim. We're aiming for the back half of the circle. So if we split the circle in half, just anything in the back. If you're a fan of the NOAA system, they talk
I was
about
just gonna say it,
Okay.
Coach. Get out of my head. Like that's, I mean, it's what the 60,000 shot study that they did
Yep.
is basically where do you need to place that ball for it to go through most of the time?
And I think it's like the 18-inch rim. It's like the depth at 11 or something. I don't. But it's the swish. If you watch the swish, it's in the back half of the basket. And if you watch the NBA, you got NBA playoffs on the night. Watch how many shots are Brad back rim and down. That's where like it just when we miss short, it's just like you're not giving it a chance.
Man, what a great point. I can't. How many misses, especially clean, not like you mentioned the last 4 seconds of a shot clock, and they're just in desperation mode. I just can't think of many short misses in the NBA.
Yeah.
Like if they do miss, I mean, I would love to know what are their stats for clean looks within rhythm. If they don't make it, which that's what they do the most, I would say they're mostly what we would consider great misses.
Yeah. And on the other side of that, if you watch high school basketball and even college basketball, when a shot is missed, it's almost always missed short. It's crazy how that happened. That was one thing that just completely opened my eyes to the way I viewed shooting. We talk about being a student of our shot, where every once in a while I'll just say, hey, you missed 3. Where were they? And if they don't know the answer, it's like a miss just isn't a miss. Like you just missed 3 in a row short. We can't make an adjustment if we're not cognizant of that.
Miss differently. After you miss 3 times, that's one of my favorite things to yell out. It sounds weird, but I just want to get them in the idea of missing will happen, but you miss 1 time the same way, 2nd time the same way, 3rd time the same way. Hey, this next one, you better miss differently. Like just getting them to think about missing isn't bad, but you can't keep doing the same thing over and over expecting different results.
Yeah, and I worked out a player this morning, and so like we'll do a drill. Speaking of shooting, like we'll do something where we might get some game, like you might get 2 corner shots, a shot at the wing, and then you might come off a ball screen and shoot or something where we're just getting multiple shots within a rep. Once they get to 10 makes, we just always end with a free throw, just that they can catch their breath a little bit before going to the next drill. And I'm just big on like, let's make the first free throw. If they miss that one, now we got to make 2 in a row. They missed that one, now we got to make 3 in a row. So just kind of a progressive deal there. And she missed short, and I'm like, hey, miss this one long, please. I don't care if you miss, whatever. Just we're gonna miss this one long. I don't care if it hits the backboard, but
you'll get a look from players saying stuff like that. You'll get like
well, her response was like, well, how about make it? And I'm like, man, that'd be great. But like you might mess up and make it if we try to miss long here.
I love that. So and I agree with you. Even at the high school level, I'm not really tinkering a lot with. And that's whenever I do get to talk shooting with guys, like, because we've led the nation in attempts the last, I don't know, 5 or 6 years. Like
Awesome.
We shoot the more you take, the more you make. It's West Hedianism. That's all it is. But it's not so much about their form. I think everybody thumbs it a little bit, trying to get that out of there, right? Trying to make sure things are straight, but it's way more about mentality. I can't imagine at your level, they got there. They probably have a certain level of shot that's pretty darn good. So talk more about when we talk teaching shooting, what's the mentality like that you take your shooters through?
Yeah, I mean, we talk about room range rhythm. Just when the ball is in the air, your mentality is that you're shooting a 3. That way we're always in rhythm. We should never be out of rhythm on a 3 unless sometimes we don't go through the progression of shoot it, drive it, move it. That's what we want is I'm going to catch and shoot. If that doesn't work, if I get a closeout, I'm going to catch and drive. If neither one of those apply, I better be moving the ball. I'm not going triple threat. I'm not playing off the jab. It's somebody else's turn. So sometimes if we skip that and we go straight to move it and it's not there, and then now I shoot it, it's like, it's out of rhythm, So we want everything in rhythm. Mentally, I think that really helps them just kind of play free. within our offense, because a lot of the troubleshooting in our offense is less quote unquote offensive driven, and it's more 0.5 or 0 second decision making, where it's like a lot of the coaches in my consulting group will ask me like, hey, what, it's not clicking. What do we need to do offensively? And it has nothing to do with that. It's we're ball sticking. The ball is not popping around the perimeter like it needs to. So let's fix that. I'm huge into fixing the right problem when it comes to those things, and not just throwing a Band-Aid on something else. So a lot of times we're building those habits more than anything in our shot. And then another thing, just like as far as mentality goes, extreme confidence. Just I want our teams, and I'm sure your teams do as well, is think they're better shooters than they are. I think that's dangerous. That's in a good way. It's dangerous for your opponent when you have 5 players on the floor that are a threat to catch and shoot the ball, because it makes every pass dangerous. We've got to close out to every pass now. And that's a nightmare. Like I know when, if I'm going to play pickup today, I want to guard a specialist. Like I just have me guard a driver, have me guard a shooter, but somebody that can do both. Like I want no part of that tonight.
That's a good point.
And those are the hard scouts too, is, when it's like they're all kind of the same, but they can all score, and we had all 5 of our starters average double digits in conference play. So, and I think it just more of our style had a lot to do with that. The ball was moving and we were always looking to attack.
One of my favorite, normally opposing parents don't come up to you and say nice things. One compliment that just stuck with me is a parent came up and said, all of your guys shoot with, and she actually used arrogance, but she meant that in like, I didn't take it in a bad way, because our guys aren't, doing like these things.
Yeah.
They're shooting, they're getting back and playing, but they all have this strange confidence that I'll tell you, I like watching the NBA more than college basketball at times for me on the boys' side. Watching March Madness, if you nailed it a second ago, I saw so many teams just running offense, but very few people looking to attack or make plays. Maybe that's by design. Like my senior year at Baylor, we only had 6 scholarship players. We had to waste time in the shot clock to shorten the game against Kansas, because if we go fast against them, we're dead. So we would run around half court like this, weaving until 8 seconds left, get in something quick and get a shot up. I just don't see some of these high-powered programs. I don't think that's their philosophy, but time and time again, dudes touching the ball, never eyes to rim, never seeing gaps that are there. And then, oh crap, 5 seconds left, ball screen or space and attack, and you're shooting one of those 4 shots. Am I just crazy? Or that's just what I see a lot.
Yeah, I see. And I think the difference is kind of when I think about the offense that I run or we run, very similar. A lot of our action is on the ball. So like when I have the ball, I'm the trigger, I'm the catalyst. So I've got to do something with it. I think what we are probably seeing is just when I get a catch, the action is somewhere else. So now I'm a passer. And, I think a good balance of that can be good. I think the game can slow down for some teams in March. I think teams play faster in November, December. And then as the year goes on, typically there's a point in the season where everybody's kind of banged up, injuries,
that makes sense.
Variables. But defenses get better. I think transition defense is something that gets better for a lot of teams over the course of the season. So the game slows down a little bit. I think somebody did a study where the game really didn't slow down a whole lot this year, but I think that's also a result of coaches adding things throughout the season. Like, let's add this set. This gave us trouble, and against this, we could probably run this. And then when you add those things in, it becomes a little slower.
Yeah. And you're right. I mean, there may be a guy catching and holding, and even though he has what looks to me, and again, I'm watching it through a screen, and I'm not at their practice, and I don't know everything that they're doing. But I just see opportunities that don't happen. And then, I mean, maybe it is too, where you just like a way of playing where that it's that 0.5 mentality. It just doesn't happen a lot. That's where I just loved watching Gonzaga, how fast they got the ball out and up the floor and how quickly some of those shots were coming up. And I kept thinking to myself, like, that's it, that's it. But maybe there's just not a lot of, you mentioned it early on in our talk, people at any level willing to allow that to happen, because it does take a lot of mistakes and trial and error early on.
Yeah. And you had a really good point of like, it's kind of what we're seeing. And I think we all view the game through a different lens. Something I try to help, but something that's really changed my coaching journey is just the lens in which I saw the game. You know, the brand of the game that I was taught early, I thought that was the right way to play. And there's really no right way to play. This is just the way I view the game through my lens, where some things look really easy to me. They make a whole lot of sense. And you could talk to somebody else and they're like, yeah, but like, you got to set stuff off. You got to set a stagger, you know, or it just, to me, it's just not something we do.
Or attacking single gaps.
Right.
Like attacking single gaps leads to turnovers. It leads to what I would call a 5 or a 6 on our shot scale, a 50-50 shot or a contested shot. It just doesn't, or a leaping to pass action. It just doesn't lead to where they're hoping. But you attack double and triple gaps. I don't care what offense, like you have, there's opportunity available if you're willing to hunt for it. So that's, yeah, you're right. My lens, and you helped shape that lens. But I was already on the path a little bit, but by the time I got to you, I think, and it's hard. It's hard to watch these great players and great coaches running actions that ultimately give them maybe a single gap option on either side of them. And then, oh crap, I'm out of time. But the defense is really good. And yeah.
And to kind of I guess, tie that up in a bow, is beauty's in the eye of the beholder. So whenever, like, Randy Sherman had a great tweet of like, I think when people say those are good X's and O's, it means that's my style of X's and O's. But like you mentioned flex, like somebody out there's watching that and like, that's great basketball. And then somebody else is watching it saying like, I don't want to play that way.
What you're basically saying is I can't be so arrogant and cocky to think that the way that you and I view the game is the only way that
exactly. Yeah. And look, I tell people that like come to me for like offensive stuff. I'm like, I don't convince anybody to run this style. Like the last coach I want to work with is somebody that doesn't want to learn this or want to run this. There's no convincing here. It's just, if you want to learn about it, I'll share my experience with it, you know, but I don't go out there saying like, hey, you need to be running this.
I've never got that feeling from you. And I think if anybody ever comes to me, hey, offensively, what do you guys do? I think like kind of like when I talked with you, you could just feel the energy, the passion, the enjoyment, because when you see a guy fly, because we're positionless, random guy takes it out, random guy brings it up, alley stretch, and that action flows, double gap, hit, hero pass, knockdown. Like when you see it, there's just so much joy in it. I'll take that any day over what we used to do, and then some really smart actions to our best scorer, which made a lot of sense at the time. But you're right on the money. What role do analytics play with our style of play for you and your college?
Yeah, I mean, we're big on points per possession, obviously points per shot. I think we look at we want to shoot layups, free throws, and threes, kind of where the game has trended to. Although on the women's side, there is more mid-range in play. And then just watching the NBA, you're seeing more mid-range because defenses get better at taking away the three. So, and they're going to have a 7-footer at the rim. So there is some mid-range kind of coming back into the game, I think. but we're always looking kind of through the same lens of um, shot selection. I think is huge for us, like big advantage shots, small advantage shots, neutral shots. Um,
Can you
that's big for us.
explain those three?
Yeah, so big advantage is more of like your wide open shot. You obviously want big advantage layups, wide open layups. You might only get 2 or 3 a game if you're lucky. So a lot of them are big advantage threes, and those are for us tend to be our stationary threes, catch and shoot, where when I start my shot, defense is more than an arm's length away. Small advantage is going to be shoulder to shoulder at the rim or chest on shoulder at the rim. And sometimes against your better defenses, that's what you're going to get is you're going to have to make small advantage shots. So talking about those more talented teams or the bigger, faster, stronger teams, the hardest part about running, I think, the systems that we run against those teams is they can guard the ball one-on-one. So there's less help. It's harder to bring 2 to the ball, which maybe an adjustment would beat a ball screen. You might get 2 on the ball and get them in dominoes. But if you're just kind of running more of like a pace and space and you can't go by them and you're on the side of them and they're not committing a second to the ball, well, you might have to punish him and finish with a small advantage. And those can be tough. So small advantage at the rim. Don't really want to take small advantage threes. It just kind of happens because you misread closeout. We want to read closeout before the catch. So I would rather, instead of like catching it and have a half a second to figure out what I'm going to do with it, I don't think that's actually possible. I think it's more of just training them to read the closeout when the ball's in the air. So we've all had that shot where it's like, ooh, if I get this pass, I'm open. And you just catch and shoot. It's the easiest decision to make. And then there's a ball's coming. I don't know if I'm open. I would rather our guys just catch and shoot or catch and drive right away and be the actor rather than the reactor. So sometimes you get your small advantage threes there. I find if we're settling for small advantage threes, we're in for a long night because they're semi-contested, So we're always just looking for, like, that was my job after every game, was to break down small advantage, big advantage, neutral shots. But also I went kind of deeper into how many big advantage shots came off a paint touch, or how many big advantage shots came off a live ball turnover, a rebound versus a dead ball. So just kind of breaking that down. We broke it down in the shot clock bins as well. First 10, middle 10, last 10. And I think analytics can also lie to you, because what if we're playing a team that plays pressure man to man, they deny passes, they don't help very well, they're kind of more dedicated to taking away passing lanes. So a lot of our possessions are 1 to 2 passes and we're shooting. That's kind of what they're giving you. Like, we can't get them out of the passing lane. So if you're looking at like how many passes lead to a big advantage shot, well, if you're playing a pack line team, that number is probably going to look really good, because you might be popping around the perimeter 7-8 times before a shot. Playing a different team, like let's say a team's a trapping 1-3-1, it might be 1 pass and we're shooting a 3. The end of the day, is it a big advantage shot to us? Whether we get it off 1 pass or 10, we're looking for a big advantage shot.
That's where I think a shift too in thinking is more passes don't always equal a higher value or percentage shot, a better shot. That where if you start to really look at shot selection as individual moments and not the entire possession time, because some of our best shots come off of no passes. If it's a pull-up 3 off the dribble from a guy that's demonstrated he can do that, or if we have that instant double gap on a side and he drives, sucker help and kick for that 3, the possession took 4 seconds. There's only 1 pass. That shot, if it's the best we can get as fast as possible, or like you talking big advantage, then it has nothing to do with how many passes. And I don't know, but I think so many people are stuck on, we're shooting too fast. It's not about that. It's about the quality.
And it's the whole idea of reversals, right? Making
Yeah.
defense go ball side to help side. They're going to break down. But I do agree with you, because there's normally when we're having to pass the ball a lot, like in my mind, I'm like, man, defense is winning. They're winning a
Yeah.
lot of battles.
Rate of turnover. It's
Exactly. So we're either having to like run a lot of action to get an advantage, or we have an advantage and their rotation is better than our ball movement. So that's like kind of the worst feeling for me, is we get an advantage, we kick out, we won more, and somebody's right there. And I'm like, wait a second, that should have been a shot. Like, how are they guarding this? And it means that they either play a similar style and are trained the same way, or they're bigger, faster, stronger, and their rotation is faster than
you tip your hat and you keep grinding away instead of we got to do something different.
Yep. If you know exactly how you lost, you tip your hat. It's exactly what I would say, and you move on. They were better than you that night.
Man, what a great point. Because I think the more simplistic you are with how you play, it's way easier to dissect what went wrong. But in the opposite of, we have 5 looks we want to try to go to at different times, or on offense or defense. I mean, you're just in the mud so much.
Yeah. So I was talking with a courtside coach in the playoffs. He's watched this game like 7 times. It's just games like haunting him. And he made some tweaks to their defense in the playoffs because he was concerned about a particular action or shot that they were having trouble defending. And then he got into the playoffs, and so they were playing a 2-3 zone. Got into the playoffs, and they just got destroyed out of the short corner. And it took some reflection on my part, but like after us talking for a little bit, I said, well, look, man, I think we identified the problem prior to the playoffs. You knew exactly what was hurting you. Going into the playoffs, you had no idea what was going to hurt you, because you made all these tweaks and you didn't know where your holes were, where your soft spot was, but you knew it all along. Like, that was just kind of what you were giving up. Maybe you should have just stayed the course, knowing if they can hit this particular shot, we might lose. But then you went into a playoff game not knowing how the heck you were going to lose.
Coaches, the Jamodi podcast is powered by Biology. What's your BSA score? The Biology Skill Assessment is the only verified skills metric endorsed by the NIA and NJCAA to discover and develop the best talent for your team. This 10-minute, 100-shot test can be taken for free today on the Biology mobile app. Elevate your game.
I think so many times that watching college basketball or NBA basketball, players, coaches, we can think that as far as confidence goes, they just have it down. They've gotten to that point. Confidence is always even, never too high, never too low. But you and I know that they struggle with it too. What are some things that you do to build confidence in your players?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of the same things we talked about shooting is just you're unleashed, make plays. And if you make mistakes, we can live with that. Like, no one's played a perfect game to this point. So we talk a lot about next play, doing the next right thing right. But also we talk in not yets. So like we're going to develop you as a complete basketball player. And a lot of times what they see as a weakness, or I can't do that, and it's just like, well, maybe not yet, but we're working on it. And we give, so like right now we're giving our players KPIs, key performance indicators, where we're every Tuesday, Thursday, we're playing 4-on-4. We might add a constraint or a condition to the game, but other than that, we're playing 4-on-4. They're calling their own fouls. We're not telling them to run specific actions really. It's just go play. And as a coach, they have each player as a KPI. So as a coach, we're just looking at that one thing. And it might be their strength, or it might be something we're trying to develop in them. So like one of my players that I'm in charge of kind of has I need to be moving at all times. I need to cut, or, and I'm trying to get her to realize that sometimes there's a difference, but there's a difference between standing and spacing. If you're standing in the wrong spot, you're not spacing the floor. If you're standing in the right spot, you're spacing the floor. There's a difference between cutting and clogging. If there might be a time for you to cut to the rim and it's a really good cut, but there might be a time where you cut to the rim and you're clogging the paint. So that's our KPI. And when we watch film, that's all we're looking at. And I find when you do that, you can move the needle a little bit more, rather than if in our film sessions, we're watching her shots, her defense, her cutting, all these things. You're kind of giving them one thing to work on. And whether she scored 10 points or 0 points, if she succeeded in that KPI, that was her performance indicator. So it gives her a lot of just confidence that she's impacting the game in other ways.
That was my nugget. So every one of these talks, I'm amazed at. There's usually more. There's a lot more than just one in this talk, but there's always one thing that I feel like I needed to hear that on this talk. And I think that's the nugget, because we play in our spring. I view spring differently. Faith basketball ended up 2 months ago. And a lot of these players, it's their select season now. So I can't, during the winter season, I can't say it's all about faith. Don't worry about select ball. All right, now it's select ball, but hey, still worry about faith. You know, so it's gearing towards them. They have tournaments on the weekend. So Mondays and Fridays are optional pickup days for them. They can choose to shoot on the gun. They can choose, but we do have quite a few guys that just want to play, because also these kids don't have laboratories anymore where they have the freedom to try things that they're working on, and because it's also structured. But what I don't have is accountability in those games of like one thing that I want the player individually to think about. Because what I'll do is, after the game, like most coaches, I'll have a few things in my head that I saw, and I'll just get with those guys real quick as they're leaving. But what if me and my assistant coach sat there with their KPIs or even just in our minds had a more focused view of something I was looking for? I think that with our time, that we only have 43 minutes, which is a lot, but 43 minutes twice a week, we could get a lot done with that player, with that nugget there.
Yep. And you can even do team KPIs. So like for your team, maybe an offensive KPI is the ball crossing half court in 4 seconds or less. Like that would be an indicator that our performance is where we want it to be. Or it could just be spacing. And so like kind of going back to the analytics, like what we're watching for on film, from a macro point of view, would be a team KPI. So I think it's important coaches watch film with a checklist. Like I'm watching our spacing, I'm watching our ball movement, I'm watching our shot selection, instead of just watching, so good. I love
Thanks,
that.
Coach. Thanks for making me feel like I just watch. I need to be better. That's what I'm getting from this. And
that's a great question. I love it. I was a young coach. I've if I could start over, I would prioritize X's and O's less, especially early. So maybe looking from a view of like your first head coaching job, or just a year one at maybe a new school, focus on behaviors. I've talked to coaches all over the country on the phone, like this off season. It's usually like one random coach I'm just kind of on the phone with, or it might be a courtside coach, but a lot of them are taking over programs. And I keep telling them, like, all right, so you're playing summer basketball. You're going to have 2 practices. They're like, hey, how do I install the offense? I'm like, you don't. you can't. But what you can do is focus maybe a team KPI, and then focus on behaviors. Like we talked, kind of going back to the beginning.
Yeah, standards, culture.
Yeah. Like I would be obsessed with those things and really intentional, and I'd be relentless in enforcing standards. And so if I'm taking over, like I just picture my 21-year-old self walking into the gym like in June or July when I was hired. It would have been all about, what's our eye contact going to be like? What are our high fives going to be like? Are we going to run on and off the floor? Are we going to pick somebody up when they fall? Are we going to celebrate teammates' success? Because all those things you can do without practice, right? You can just play basketball and get better at those things. And then when it's time for summer league, to kind of flip it, I'd go to my leadership council and I would say, hey, what is one thing we can commit to doing on the defensive end? or what does a great defensive team do? They might say blocking out. Okay, great. Offensively, what does a great offensive team do? They share the ball. All right, that's all I care about this summer. That's it. We're going to block out, we're going to share the ball, and we're going to have great eye contact, great high fives, great huddles. When we sub, this is how we're going to run on and off the floor. Our bench is going to stand up, because those are the things that you can actually hold them accountable for in the summer. Just those things can impact your program so much. I would value relationships so much more with players. A long list of things that I could have been better at. In fact, like I go back and I look at like old pictures of teams I coached in the past, and I'm just like, man, those poor fellas. Like, I was such a bad coach that they got like one of the worst versions of me as a coach. I wish I could go back. And now some of my former players are becoming coaches, and this is like a kind of a bittersweet story, I guess. But this coach, he said, "Coach, like I'm coaching a team now. Like, I can see why you yelled at us all the time. These kids don't listen." And I'm like, kind of like laughed, but I was like, "Hey, Steven, like, I shouldn't have yelled at you guys. Like, that's not what I want you to take from your experience." Like, and like he was kind of like laughing. I was like, "No, man, I'm serious. Like, there's a better way, and I have found it, and don't do that." Like,
Man.
So it was kind of like, it turned into like a very serious conversation about coaching, and he was just kind of, messing around, and it was lighthearted, but it's just, you're never ready to be a head coach. But if you're always looking at your previous seasons and kind of like, man, I'm so much better now, as hard as that is, it means you're getting better. So I think the worst thing would be is to think I had it all figured out 15 years ago and I'm still coaching the same way.
The speed round. I know your views on basketball, but now I'm going to know your views on random things that don't matter. Ready?
Yep.
Favorite ice cream flavor?
Coffee.
That's the first.
Okay.
For high school, shot clock or no shot clock?
Absolutely shot clock.
Texting or talking?
Oh, good question. Lately, talking.
Nice. Favorite holiday?
Got to be Christmas.
Invisibility or super strength?
Invisibility.
Okay. Favorite coach of all time?
Whew. This is always such a difficult one for me. I mean, Nick Saban.
Nice. Favorite NBA player of all time?
Pete Maravich.
The same. Anyway, if you could travel back in time, what period would you like to go to?
Oh my goodness. I always used to say like year zero to experience that coming off Easter.
That's right.
Or, I'll answer your question. Like, I've always been intrigued of like, if you could start over your life over again, knowing what you know now, would you? So like maybe 1985, but
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay. Two more. How many cups of coffee do you drink per day?
Way too many.
I'm telling you, there's such a connection here. The coaches that come on and say 0, I've never drank it. I want to get off the call. No, it's getting no.
I love coffee.
Yeah. There's no such thing as too much, man. And
Right.
okay, the myth that too much caffeine. Do you know the actual level you have to get to for caffeine to be poisonous? It's an extreme, like
Really?
thousands and thousands of ml. You can't drink that much coffee. Anyway.
Yeah. I love my coffee so much, I make it weak so I can drink more of it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm not there. Last one, probably the most important one, Godfather or Star Wars?
Oh man.
You could say neither.
Okay. I've never seen Star Wars, any of them. So Godfather. And I'm Italian, so I got to go Godfather anyway. I lost you there.
You were so close. What's your favorite movie genre though? If you have to choose one, what are you going with?
I love comedies.
Nice. Coach, this was awesome because I've been such a fan of yours and you've helped me in such a big way. But then, getting to ask some of these questions and just hear kind of your thought process through it. It's been phenomenal, man.
No, this was great. I appreciate it. I know we've talked about doing this for a long time. And I follow you, man. I follow your success in your program. And then also kudos to you for your book that's
Oh,
come out. I know I hooked you up with the interview too. And just hearing that when you came on the radio in Baton Rouge was cool. So I've been following the book ever since.
oh, thanks, man. And I'll make sure. I'd love to send you a copy, so I'll get your address. And
Absolutely.
before we get off, though, Courtside Consulting, and I mean this for coaches. Like I literally, came on board with you, and I got access to all of your film. But then what was huge for me was just getting to talk with you, and because watching what your teams do, but then hearing the why behind it, that's the big connector. So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, quickly, kind of how it started was just conversations like this, just like you said, like coaches saying, "Hey, tell me a little bit about what you do on offense." I started getting that just more and more and more and more. And then in like 2018, it was like, well, let's hop on Zoom and do this, or let's hop on the phone. And it just became really cool, kind of like you doing a podcast to build relationships with coaches all over and just share really everything. We talk defense, offense, just general style of play, program building. So it's like you said, access to all the resources that I have. I kind of walk with you step by step and installing offense or defense, whatever you want. The big thing that I enjoy though is the one-on-one conversations with coaches and just kind of walking them through their journey. You said something earlier as far as like, just the lens at which we look at things, like seeing coaches develop a different lens where they kind of knew what they wanted, they didn't know how to get there. Just help them do that, and it's been extremely rewarding. But there's tons of resources. A lot of what I share on my website, CoachCassio.com, is about 10% of what you get from the program. So if anybody's interested or just want to talk hoops, I love just talking with coaches all the time about basketball and their program. So feel free to reach out, markcassio@gmail.com or @CoachCassio on Twitter.
I love that. And I mean it. I think you're one of transformational. Like obviously the way that you deal with players is spot on and in a really healthy way. But, I personally put you up there with just some of the thinkers of the game that have really pushed it in a positive direction. So appreciate you, man.
Yeah, thanks so much. This was fun. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you for checking out today's episode. Please take a moment to subscribe to this podcast, share it with your fellow coaches, and find us on social media for what's coming up next on the Jamodi podcast. It's just a matter of doing it.